Hello and welcome to another edition of Health Bites. Now today I wanted to shine the light on a very common health problem of our times and one that's also very misunderstood. And it stands to reason that when something is poorly understood, that the response to it is frequently inappropriate, and off the back of that the symptoms related to it can persist. And can persist sometimes for years, and in some cases even for a lifetime. So what are we referring to here? Well, Candida. Now, as I alluded to a moment ago, many people struggle with symptoms related to Candida for years on end, and frequently with the common misunderstanding that it's just something that they need to live with and they need to manage. And I'm happy to report that this is really not the case at all. When we take a step back and we understand the truth of why Candida shows up and understand the context of it in the greater wisdom of the body, and we respond in alignment with that we can treat the cause and we can yield full and complete resolution of all related symptoms to Candida. So that's the really good news here. Now, in addition, there are also many people who struggle with symptoms related to Candida unknowingly, and may be struggling with just niggly symptoms that erode away at their health. And simply by understanding that the underlying cause is Candida, they can take their health up to a whole nother level of vibrance. So with that said, let's have a look at some of the symptoms that can be related to Candida. First of all, constant low energy or chronic fatigue, very common in modern times. Sugar cravings, sound familiar. Fungal infections of the skin and the nails, such as athlete's foot or toenail fungus. Various other skin conditions such as eczema or psoriasis and so on. A variety of digestive issues such as recurring bloating or constipation or diarrhea. A number of autoimmune diseases such as thyroiditis, rheumatoid arthritis, ulcerative colitis, and others. Poor memory and brain fog or inability to focus. Mental or emotional issues such as low mood, irritability, mood swings, anxiety. Vaginal infections, urinary tract infections, rectal itching, severe seasonal allergies. So right there is a list which gives you an insight into the extreme range of related symptoms to Candida. Now, as we've covered in other videos before this one, in natural medicine, we understand that we do not need to live in fear of microbes, whether it be viruses or bacteria, or in this case, yeasts. And when we understand that health really is a reflection of the health of our cellular terrain, and it really all comes down to this. And when we work to improve the health of our cellular terrain and understand this cellular terrain theory, we realize that Candida is not an enemy of our body, and in fact it is a natural and even necessary inhabitant in our body. So how can it be necessary? How can Candida be helpful? Well, to answer this, I'm going to use an analogy that was shared with me many years ago by the quite brilliant naturopath and intuitive healer, Andreas Moritz. And he explained it like this. Very simply, we have the good bacteria or the microflora that increasingly is becoming well recognized and appreciated for its crucial role in keeping the body healthy, not only in our gut, but throughout our body. Then there is the quote unquote bad bacteria, but in truth, they're not bad at all, but they proliferate during times when the cellular terrain of our body deteriorates through buildup of congestion and a buildup of toxins. And so these bad bacteria multiply in order to break down this toxic congestion and revert the cellular terrain to one of homeostasis. And then there are the Candida, and Andreas Moritz likened them to the riot police. You know, when you think of a peaceful city, when everything is running smoothly, there is no evidence that the city even has a riot police department. And it is not until chaos breaks out that the riot police present themselves. Well, the same applies to a healthy body. When all is running smoothly in the body and the cellular terrain is in a state of harmony, then the Candida live in perfect harmony and there's no evidence of them at all. However, when the conditions in the body deteriorate to one that I mentioned a moment ago, when there's congestion and there's a toxic state in the body, well, then the Candida begin to proliferate because their role becomes required to prevent a major toxic crisis from arising in the body. So let's have a quick look at what could cause these Candida to proliferate in the first place, and then we'll take a look at a step-by-step process to prevent this happening or to reverse this situation. First of all, in terms of triggering the proliferation of Candida, a diet that is not naturally designed for the body. And we'll talk a little bit more about the details of what that diet might look like and what we need to do in place of it. But first of all, when we have a diet that is highly processed and not meant for the body, well, it is poorly broken down. This food is not easily digested by the body. There's a buildup of it in the gastrointestinal tract. It literally begins to ferment and putrefy in the gut. And this creates a very ripe environment in the gastrointestinal tract for attracting a variety of parasites, whether it be bacteria or worms, and in this case, Candida, with the sole purpose of breaking down this rotting food content to prevent a potential health crisis, such as complete obstruction in the gut. Now, the truth is that most people have no idea that this is in fact happening in their gut, and they may assume that because they still have bowel movements that everything is passing through, but this is not the case. And this rotting, decaying food matter can build up in the gut, and it begins to dry out, and we refer to it as mucoid plaque. And it lines the intestinal wall, and it gradually builds up in thickness over time, to the point that in some people there may only remain a tiny open passage in the center of the intestine that's still available for food to pass through. Now, what then happens is The parasites are attracted, as we said a moment ago, to break down this mucoid plaque, including the Candida. And the Candida, in this case, grow fungal threads, or a bit like tentacles, and these threads drill through this dry, rotting food content, this mucoid plaque, with an attempt to break it down. And however, what also happens is that these fungal threads can also enter into the walls of the intestine as they attempt to break down this rotting food. And that, in penetrating the wall of the intestine, can allow toxins to enter into the circulation, where in turn it can travel really to anywhere in the body, including the brain, and can lead to any or all of the symptoms that we listed a short while ago. So while we certainly don't want a proliferation of Candida, understand that they are there to perform a function. And in order to address them, we do not simply want to kill them. We want to understand and remind ourselves why they are there, to address the cause. And when we do so, well, the Candida will simply have no further reason for staying in our bodies. That's reason number one: a diet inappropriate to our body and to our intestinal tract. Secondly, is taking antibiotics on a regular or an ongoing basis. Now, antibiotics are prescribed on a very frequent basis in our modern world, and frequently in response to a infection or an alleged infection. And first of all, we need to remind ourselves that this in and of itself is a wake-up call to the right police, the Candida, if there is an infection, to begin, multiplying and to break down the congested toxic matter that led to the infection in the first place. However, what happens is that when the antibiotics are taken, they kill off most of not only the good bacteria, but also they permit the Candida to now go into overdrive, because there's no natural bacteria to keep them in check. And so they begin to spread literally like mold through the intestinal tract. This in turn interferes with the enzymes that would normally break down food, and ends up causing poor digestion and bloating, again, as we mentioned earlier. So again, please understand that the Candida are not trying to hurt your body. They are trying to save it. They are trying to heal and prevent a toxicity crisis. So, as is so often the case, a common response is simply to take an antifungal. This is not going to resolve the issue. In fact, I'm sure you can already see how it can only make the situation worse. So, how in natural medicine would we address the Candida in a manner that treats the cause, that being improving the cellular terrain, so that we can prevent the proliferation of these Candida, heal the cellular terrain, and in do so support the elimination of the Candida naturally? Okay, so let's take a quick look at this step-by-step process. Firstly, we want to address our diet. Now, while this is a big topic in and of itself, we really want to avoid eating meat and dairy from intensively raised animals. These are animals that live in shocking situations, and they're fed antibiotics and hormones to counter the infections that they are subjected to in their very unnatural environments. And so these antibiotics end up in the meat that we eat. And as we shared a moment ago, these antibiotics have an impact on the natural microflora in our body and enable the Candida to proliferate as a result of this. So we really want to avoid meat and dairy that are sourced that are not sourced from natural and organic origins. Secondly, we want to avoid a diet that is high in processed sugars. Okay, sugars are simply fuel for Candida. So instead, we want to go for natural alternatives such as honey. Thirdly, we want to avoid other refined carbohydrates like white flour products, because really this is also just sugar in another form. We also want to, on the other side, we want to increase the amount of natural foods that are high in fiber in our diet, such as organic vegetables and fruit. In addition, we want to discontinue ongoing or recurring courses of antibiotics, as we referred to earlier, and we rather want to address the reason for any infection showing up, treating its cause. We also want to restore the natural microflora in our gut by incorporating natural probiotics into our diet. So foods such as sauerkraut, kimchi, apple cider vinegar, and other fermented foods. Alongside this, we also want to cleanse our gut, and we want to cleanse our liver. Now, these are both big topics, gut and liver cleansers, and I really urge you to seek out the guidance and support of a natural practitioner to help you in this regard, because as we cleanse out the environment of our gut and that of our liver, which works in very close proximity to the gut, so we in turn are supporting a cellular environment that no longer attracts parasites and fungi such as Candida. And the other organ system we also want to support is the spleen. And this is one that has been recognized for centuries in Chinese medicine as being very important for digestion. And the spleen can be supported with foods such as squash and sweet potatoes and lentils and barley tea, amongst others. And we also want to avoid having cold foods that are hard on the spleen, and opt rather for warmer foods and things such as bone broth, soups, etc. And then finally, while we do want to avoid the chemical antifungals, as we mentioned earlier, because they're simply not treating the cause, we can support all of which we've listed above with natural anti-fungal products such as foods such as garlic, oil of oregano, and grapeseed extract, which will just support the elimination of these Candida naturally, along with supporting a change and improvement of the cellular terrain. So there you have it. I hope this has been helpful. And again, seek the guidance of a professional to help you in this regard. And really, in no time at all, you can be achieving true and lifetime solutions from this long-term health challenge, simply by understanding what is truly happening in your body, working in harmony with it, and addressing the cause. So enjoy that process. I really look forward to hearing how you do with this, if this is something you have struggled with. And until next time, so much love.